Let's start moving out to a wider sense of reality.
What is reality?
Good now. You know, it's both difficult and easy to speak out of both sides of my mouth. It's difficult because I have neither a mouth nor sides, but it's easy because I just place the words in Michael's mouth and he has agreed to share them without question. Any words that I use do not tell the truth. So it can be helpful to state things in differing and even contrasting ways to approximate truth, to triangulate what actually is. I've been talking differently about reality in some of the more recent messages than I did in messages back several years ago. Anyway, this is a really good question. So let's look more deeply into it. Recently, we have talked about reality as being what is in the now. For example, if it is raining now, that is the reality. We talk in terms of simple acceptance of what is in the now. If you have resistance to reality, if you want to change it, good luck with that. But it's not just the weather, it's everything. What is, is. It cannot be changed. You might want to change it in the future, even the near future. That's another matter we will deal with shortly. But reality is what is here right this moment. When one ignores it or doesn't accept it, is upset and in opposition to it, or wants to change it, there will be frustration, pain, suffering, and a sense of failure because the now cannot be altered. The reality cannot be changed. When there is resistance to the now, it makes it nearly impossible to hear your inner guidance, spirit, or your divine self because the ego mind is just too loud. This is the reality we've been referring to. It's been suggested that the more one is willing to notice what is present right now without judging it or wishing to change it, the more one accepts the feelings triggered in this now, the more one learns to hear that quiet inner voice. We have encouraged you to do that, to take what is in the now as the perfect thing, to receive what Spirit is presenting to you to help you realize your divine nature. Let's start moving out to a wider sense of reality. One step out is to say that your only function for being, for having this experience in the physical with a body, is to wake up to the truth of your divine nature. Nothing else matters. That's a big step from accepting the now. Nothing else matters but being awake. In this process of awakening, there are different levels. The ground level is having the desire, the intention to awaken. That can only come from the ego mind. As you have likely noticed by now, the ego mind is very clever and anything but self-destructive. The urge to awaken is most unlikely to make an appearance when things are going as one wishes they would. The ego only grudgingly allows a peek at this when you have become quite frustrated with a lack of delivery on ego promises. But A full awakening would mark the death of the ego. So, what proceeds to manifest in this world of duality is opposites. On one side, the intention to awaken is a prerequisite. On the other hand, as long as you hold on to the intention to awaken, you cannot notice you already are awake. Awakeness is in the now. Goals put your mind into the non existent future. How do you make the shift from wanting to awaken to realizing awakeness? At some point, the synapse is crossed. You realize you are and always have been awake. You've just been pretending to be asleep. We could call the ego mind that pretender. However, you can have the idea that you really are awake, but that is still the ego mind running things, not a true experience. So, what happens somewhere along the line, remembering that time doesn't really exist, through what I like to call the grace of God, after countless letting goes of the ego mind, is it happens. This occurrence is after intention has been released. You know in that instant that none of this really matters, that the physical is just an illusion. If that is followed by the thought that you are awake now, say hello again to your ego mind. It doesn't matter. It will likely happen. The truth is in your divinity. It cannot be hidden forever. More often, you will find yourself noticing the now with no attachment, with no agenda, with no resistance, with welcomeness and gratitude. As we are talking about this, because all we can do is use words and point, we could describe this as the first step of awakeness. None of this really matters. You still notice the world around you, the phenomenal world. You are still aware of the body, the vehicle you use for this exploration in interaction with this physical illusion. There's another level of reality. It could be stated thusly: reality is that which never changes. Ego mind will get hold of this and state that the now constantly changes. Nothing stays the same. It will remind you that I have said, and I quote, as you are noticing the emotions, accept them, feel them, let them move about, let them be free, welcome them, and let them lead you. They will constantly change. End quote. Ego may add that if changes equate to not real, how could I say that what is in the now, including feelings, are real? Now I seem to be saying that now isn't real. And what about everything in the phenomenal world? The weather changes, plants and animals grow and then die. Your physical body has and will go through enormous change from conception through birth, childhood, adolescence, adulthood, maturity, old age, and death. So now, am I saying that everything that is a part of the now is not real? You are understanding me completely. Anything that does or can change is not real. This becomes quite a challenge for the mind. Is there anything in the universe that does not change? If you think the earth or the sun will always be here, check out what the science says. Even if the Bible is taken literally, the universe has both beginning and end. Absolutely nothing of the physical realm is real because everything changes. What about this entity that I've referred to as you? or you refer to as I, this awareness that experiences the changes in the phenomenal universe. Is it real? Whew! The question seemed to be getting harder. Are you real? Let's toss another one out there for you. If nothing in the physical world is real, and you are the observer of these illusions, if there is nothing to observe, is there still an observer? If the world is not real, are you real? If there is nothing to observe, can you observe nothing? The closest we can come with words in defining that which never changes might be to call it divinity, or maybe God, if you can suffer that term, or perhaps the oneness. If you are a creation of that whatever, made in its own image, that too sounds like a change. Divinity simply is, always. If out of this never changing, timeless, infinite isness, you are created, then by definition, you aren't real either. Using the metaphor of the ocean, which is undifferentiated water, it is all ocean. A wave can emerge on its surface, but it has no identity separate from the ocean. Without the ocean, the wave does not exist. It may seem to have its own identity and direction, but eventually it crashes on a beach and returns to the oneness, having no further identity as a wave. Even the water that's considered to be part of the wave does not move with it. There's just this motion on the surface. Without the ocean, there is no wave. So, the ultimate reality is undifferentiated divinity. There is no you. This reality is beyond anything the mind can comprehend. It's beyond anything the senses can be aware of. For the ego mind, such a picture triggers absolute terror. It represents not only the dissolution of the ego mind, but the dissolution of any aspect of a separated self. Absolute non existence, oneness, no separation. Such ideas are impossible to comprehend or sense. So, after you reach the step of awareness that you are a divine entity created by God in its own image, and that there is no reality in the physical realm, your awakening is not over. It has just begun. As long as there is an observer watching the illusion of physicality, there remains a separation from the oneness. The ultimate awakening, for which we have used the term ascension, is where there's no longer a sense of you observing the physical illusion. Now, ascension implies a rising up, but there's no direction involved. There is nothing. There's no longer a separate observer. There is only the ocean of oneness. Even though there is no forward or backward, we will appear to take a step back into looking at this now. For some of you, there's a great challenge in doing things like accepting the perfection of the now. I will encourage you to let go of perfection as a term. Instead, keeping in mind this larger vision of reality, flow with whatever is, reminding yourself that it doesn't matter. Perfect or imperfect, it makes no difference. Either way, it's not real. It doesn't matter. If you are only here to realize you are already awake, whatever is happening is helping you to do that. If you are pretending to be asleep, no matter what happens, you will experience pain and suffering. Whether you are trying to find perfection or imperfection, you are going to suffer. In duality, there cannot be one without the other. This is true of every thought you might have. It has an opposite. There is no reality in trying to explain or understand. There's only more confusion. That's why we encourage you, as you are in the process of realizing that you already are awake, to let the mind go. It's not about learning. It's about unlearning everything you think you know. Whatever you think, you're wrong. If you are pretending to be separate from what you observe, you're going to suffer. Beyond that, this whole unreal movie you are pretending to be a part of is already scripted. You have no choice in changing it. Your only choice is whether or not you accept it as real. You are powerless as an observer. The outcome is already known. What is occurring in the minutiae of the moment doesn't matter. We can guess that in the scope of the illusion of time, as the script runs, you stop playing in the game of time. You start playing with awareness in the game of divinity, of infinity, in the game of God. You realize that you are one with what you observe, that there is no separation. You know that nothing matters. Even if you're still playing in the game, using the vehicle you have to interact with the now, you know that it doesn't matter. You just enjoy the ride. Or don't enjoy the ride. Or enjoy not enjoying the ride. It doesn't matter. If you have the thought in the moment, and maybe it's been a long time prayer or mantra, maybe, God forbid, you learned it from me. Quote, Spirit, help me accept the perfection of the now. End quote. You may be enabling the ego mind to try to find something good about what is happening. This triggers the good-bad duality. In that interplay, the mind usually wants to go for the positive. It doesn't ask Spirit for help in accepting the imperfection of the now, so the negative is denied and pushed away. Try letting go of perfection and accepting what is as what is. That is reality. Eventually, it is what isn't. That too is reality. You begin by accepting the reality of what is, but eventually realize there is no isness. Nothing, including the observer, is real. But how can you realize that if you think what is happening in your movie is real? As long as that is the case, then the separate you is real too. If you are thoroughly confused at this point, then my work is done. Good now.
If this touched your heart, subscribe and receive more light. This content is the creative work of Channels Without Borders, all rights reserved 2025. Visit channelswithoutborders.com. Feel free to share this with friends. More information and links are in the description.